one of the earliest and impactful shifts that we've seen since the start of this administration, at the start of this year, has been on the rollback of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, right, at private companies. And I want to be very specific about that because I think it's important to note that although Trump did issue an executive order, that was for federal agencies to roll back DEI programs and not for private companies. They don't have to do this. It is not law for them to do this, right? So why are they doing this?
I have a lot of thoughts about this. I worked in corporate for 20 years, so I have a background in the corporate existence. So the really easy answer to this is they want to stay out of the crosshairs of this president because this president is retaliatory against people and companies. He will try and imprison you. He will try and ruin your business. And I think for a lot of them, they're trying to stay out of that crosshair. I also think that we have to move the needle from looking at DEI and really look at what this president is doing. I love companies. They are there for one reason and one reason only, the bottom line. And they understand that DEI is another way to say growth segments. If you do not include LGBTQ people, Black people, Latin people, and women, you do not have a future forward business. You just don't. You're not going to get the best employees of the pick, and you're not going to be able to grow your consumer base. It's very simple. So, what started 20 years ago as growth segments has then morphed into DEI. What this president is doing is actually attacking corporate freedoms to express and market the way that they want to market their business so that they can grow their business. It's actually quite astonishing. These are corporate freedoms that this president is putting in the crosshairs because of his political agenda. And so I think what most companies that I'm talking to are doing, and I think this is where the press has really gotten it wrong, to be frank with you. And I hope that through Pride this upcoming month, we're able to correct this record. More companies are stepping into DEI because they can't grow without it. It's a really simple equation. And so more companies are not walking away from it than are walking away from it. Now, there were two highly visible walkaways, right? Bud Light and Target. And I just want to say, from the Bud Light perspective, that was actually, I saw it coming for one reason. Bud Light had been an early supporter of the LGBTQ community. They've been supporting GLAAD for 25 years. They got the memo. They knew how to grow their business. They knew how to target growth segments. They were advertising in LGBTQ media 30 years ago, 25, 30 years ago. They'd been supporting GLAAD for years. About 2 years before this happened, they pulled their support from us. And it was tied to, I guess, they felt that we should have defended them against an LGBTQ organization that had called them out for funding anti-LGBTQ candidates. And we said to them, quite frankly, that'll draw more attention. You don't want it. Like, just let it be. But there was a leadership shift at the same time at Bud Light, and they walked away for what was a core value now did not any longer become a core value. So when that happened, when the marketing team got ahead of the leadership and that happened, that's when they showed who they really are now. They weren't that way for years and years and years, but that was a leadership change at Bud Light.
Right. Most people don't know that history. I'd never heard that story before. And they should have listened to you because the Barbara Streisand effect, everyone knows.
It's the
Everyone
same
knows
with
about that.
Target. I don't know what is going on over at Target. I've tried to advise them now since 2023. It's not a hard solve what they need to do. And that's the thing is like, I do think that especially the CEOs who are not educated in what it means and how it affects their business and what the culture is, end up getting in more trouble than they need to. And Target was a supporter of our community and has been a supporter of the Black community. So I don't know if there's a leadership change that's happened there, a values change, because as soon as you walk away from your values, you walk away from business and you put yourself in the limelight. But if you stuck with your values, because I'll tell you, that same year, about and we were working very closely with about 200 other companies came under attack. They stood their ground, and those attackers, those anti-LGBTQ people, moved on.
Yeah.
Because, yeah,
Yeah, interesting. But they're finding out now, right? Profits, I think, are plummeting, right? And I think people sometimes forget that this started with Target back in 2023 when they pulled their Pride merchandise, which he wasn't even in office then, and so they were responding to something that we don't know, something that was hidden. Maybe this is who they truly were. But you're right about them being a big supporter. They were one of the best places to go for Pride merchandise. Here's a good example: the lipstick that I'm wearing right now is a Black-owned makeup brand that was being carried exclusively at Target, right? And so we're not shopping there anymore, right? So I got this directly from that brand, and they should understand that this is where their customers are. It's profitable to support these communities.
and where I think the media has gotten this wrong is not only in saying like these companies are walking away from DEI, because most of them actually aren't.
Right.
They are, like I said, embedding it in different ways and fortifying their company from these attacks by the administration. Number two is that when they do walk away from DEI, the Bud Lights of the world, the Targets, they do worse. And they don't do worse because of that small anti-LGBTQ cohort. They actually aren't even big enough to make an impact on your business. It's the LGBTQ people and our allies, or the Black community and their allies, who are the majority of Americans and have the most buying power and who are making the dents in their stock prices.
When
And
I
I don't
think
think the media is reporting that accurately.
Right, right. I want to talk about that in a second, but I want to say this, that what I regret about that and about 2023, I remember when that happened. I remember when they pulled the Pride merchandise, and I regret there not being a bigger, broader response to that, right? I remember thinking, that's really bad. They shouldn't do that. But we didn't see the boycotts that we see right now. Had we all done that, myself included, right? I don't really shop at Target that much, to be honest, but let's say I did. But had I had a larger public response, maybe we wouldn't be where we are right now, right? Back then. I don't know. Perhaps not.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. And I think we were all surprised. We were so surprised because both of these companies had been such deep supporters of
Mhm.
our community that it was like, oh, somebody messed up on the inside. But it did become clear to me pretty quickly when I was trying to help them out of the situation and they weren't taking it. I was like, oh, this isn't going to go well for you guys for very long.